Hello everyone, Sable here. Sorry to keep you waiting for this video, which is the semifinals of UPL, one of two semifinals matches we've got here. I took a week off to spend some time with my girlfriend who's visiting, who also drew my lovely profile picture that I've been using on YouTube. But I'm on a bit of a break. I have a little time right now in between, so I thought I'd get a few videos recorded while she's on a little trip and then gonna spend some more time with her and then get back to these. But right now I thought we're 3 videos away from the end of UPL. I can cram a little bit in. So I'm not gonna do too much preamble. Let's just jump right into it. I'm excited for this one, Gastlies versus Enigami. So, unusual lead from Gastlies. She's not a Zapdos supporter in general. She does say it's okay in the lead and bad everywhere else, which I kind of agree with. Running into Jinx, not the most ideal matchup. You do have some tools. I think because Executor and Ubers really can't afford to not run like Sleep Stun, Boom, it kind of has to run Psychic as its last move, which makes Jinx a lot harder to deal with. In OU, you get the option of running Hyper Beam, Double Edge, so if you paralyze Jinx, then Eggy can kind of catch it on entry a couple times and then break through and get sleep somewhere else. In Uber, there's not really any luck there, so you kind of have to make a choice of T-Wave or Drill Peck, and whichever one you choose dictates how you're going to play around the Jinx, so we'll see what she does. You can also just get lucky too, like crit Drill Peck High Roll or Lovely Kiss Miss or T-Wave and Nepera, all very good outcomes. Anything else not ideal, so just going for the damage and taking the Lovely Kiss, pretty typical outcome. We'll see how she plays around it. She's got a Starmie, so that's pretty ideal. Switching Starmie in suggests it has Surf, which means you actually can fight Jinx one-on-one. Enigami being really risky by going for this. Like, you're not, if you're running Rest on Jinx, then you can't click it anymore, of course. If you're not running Rest, it's going to be very hard to sack this to sleep against Executor or something. So hard Snorlax into Starmie, also not the most ideal thing, but at least you get it on a recovery turn, so I guess that's what he was playing for with the Jinx. Ghastly is going to her own Snorlax. So early on, seeing like a bit of para from Ghastly's, I wonder if this Starmie is Surf Bolt or Surf Blizz. I would assume Blizz is more likely, but Bolt could be there if it's enabling a Mewtwo that can't hit Slowbro or something. On Enigami's side, Jinx Snorlax really aggressive, but doesn't really say much else yet. We'll see. Is there a counter? There is not a counter. Okay, so Ghastly's behind in this, but she's at high enough HP that Enigami can't just throw out a Hyper Beam and trust it to get the KO. Ghastly is not booming, so just taking the damage, confident she can finish the Snorlax even if her Snorlax misses the KO, and Enigami not wanting to risk the speed tie, but there's a problem there. Your Snorlax is at 44%, Ghastly's can just Hyper Beam instead of having to click Boom. So kind of sacking this Jinx for nothing, although positionally it's also kind of fine because it whatever comes in is going to force Snorlax out or to sack itself. So as long as you follow up with an appropriate killer, Rhydon or the Rhydon might stop this. So Zapdos maybe not the best guy to send. Maybe you could have sent a Mewtwo, depending on set. Maybe I don't know something. Zapdos coming out, just my brain instantly went Rhydon, and Ghastly's likes Rhydon, so there's a chance, but also there's only 3 slots left. You probably have Egg, Mewtwo, Mew in those 3 slots, so I guess Enigami is seeing that and saying there's probably not a Rhydon here. And there's the Mewtwo. Crit T-Bolt is nice because it gives you a little leeway to get Para here. Knowing Ghastly, this will have T-Wave on it. And probably have Blizzard, so it's not the most ideal thing for Zapdos to be in on, but I think you can be a little risky and click a T-Wave here, or you could preserve this to have it against Starmie later. Ghastly's team, I do wonder, if this is an Eggy, I would guess it's either Paraspam enabling a Mew with Hyper Beam, or it's like Paraspam, Boom Mew, Boom Egg, Boom Snorlax, and you have like a Barrier 2. And then this Starmie kind of pads you against opposing barrier 2 or something. That's my 2 theories. I'm really not sure which one's more likely at this point. But recover Mewtwo. So it's not like Amni Blizz Boom or something. And she takes the T-Wave. That makes me think it's more likely to be a barrier 2 win con here. We'll see exactly what gets clicked. And there it is. Okay. So Jinx down. We wonder if Enigami actually has anything that stops this, or if it's just going to get a freeze and then sit on this stuff. Here comes the Mew. The Mewtwo's already at +2, so this is pretty hard for Mew to win. She switches out, so she either... There's two reasons she could be doing this. Number one, she's afraid of getting crit boomed and just losing the Mewtwo when it's looking like it's going to have free setup on Zapdos repeatedly in this game, so you don't need to risk that right now. Number two is she wants to paralyze this Mew to basically guarantee that Mewtwo is going to farm it later and make it impossible for Mew to come in. And there's not really any switch-ins here. Like, Snorlax is not happy to switch into this T-Wave. Zapdos, not happy to switch into this T-Wave. There's a lot of stuff here, and she's going to get it, so... Now, like, you can also threaten this out with Snorlax later if it gets lucky against Starmie, but Surfmie doesn't even have the worst odds here. Yeah, like, one crit right now, and this is over. And there it is. Yeah, so Ghastly's playing this really well, not taking any risks at all. Gonna force this Mew to get out, or just get lucky. And get lucky it is, but it still has to heal, or it's just going to die to something else. Yeah, like, that was a good Snorlax switch. Either Enigami attacks, and then the Mew gets forced out by whatever comes in after, which could just be the Starmie again, because it resets the speed drop from paralysis. Not speed drop by the Swords Dance anymore. And if Enigami doesn't attack and just heals, you just boom, and either it stays in, eats the boom, and goes down, or it's at 70% and paralyzed, and something else has to eat the boom anyway. So kind of a really forcing pincer play, and she gets a little bit of luck there and just doesn't have to boom at all, but ultimately, either way, that Snorlax coming in forced the Mew out no matter what button it had clicked there. And so right back to Mewtwo, but even more advantage now because there's just nothing Enigami has against this except get lucky. And a little bit of luck with that crit, but not enough. And if she can just recover back to full, which admittedly looking challenging because the Zapdos is critting a lot, but this might be the turn. And once that happens, you just need one barrier, one amnesia, and you're pretty safe from anything. And Enigami not trying to go to Snorlax or anything like that and just get the boom early. So I think he's making a mistake by pushing this. I think this is just going to give Ghastly's free setup. Zapdos, as Ghastly's believes, is really just not threatening here. And now it's got +2/+2. There's no real threat here except a bunch of crits. And once she just heals up and maybe sets up one more time if she feels like it, it's pretty unwinnable. So there's a chance here. I think you have to immediately boom. Yeah, and I think Ghastly's could have called that and just gone to the Snorlax or the Zapdos and tanked that. And now it's a little iffy, but honestly, like, if Enigami booms 2 whole Mons to remove this Mewtwo, you win anyway. Like, you have 2 Pokemon now versus the world, and if this Executor hits Sleep, it's just about over. And that's a very low roll Drill Peck, so Sleep's gonna come through. And now if she just has a Mew in back with a good set here, okay. Boom, so unlucky first turn wake, immediate boom looks like either set up for a Mew to win or just boom it, don't let it get any wake turns off, go to Mew, T-Wave the Mewtwo on entry, boom it, boom with Snorlax. And now it's a little bit iffier for sure, but he's going hard Mewtwo on whatever this is clicking. That's definitely a little iffy. I think that's like a call that this is Hyper Beam Mew, because if you catch that with Mewtwo at +0, you're very advantaged, and it would KO Zapdos here. So maybe that was a call on Hyper Beam, but I don't love that. And there's a drop, a little bit of chip, and if Mewtwo does anything here, it doesn't matter because it's slower than Mew now. You have to call the boom turn right or you just die. And Blizzard, no amnesia, so it seems like this Mewtwo cannot reset speed, so I feel like this Mew can sit here and... Ooh, okay, so there's a bit... It definitely has some potential to go wrong for Ghastly's here. There's definitely some potential, but I think we should keep in mind 100% Starmie actually does tank one hit from Zapdos, so if this is Surf Blizz, it's still probably going to win. The only thing Ghastly's has to do is either hit the boom and... Okay. So Enigami just booming, I don't think I like that. I think you have to try to preserve this, but it's also looks like it's Mono Blizzard Mewtwo. Well, no. because it was Amnesia, you would have clicked Amnesia already. So it's probably Cybliz, which means it's sort of walled by Starmie, but also sort of not, because you can just side drop through it. I don't know if I like that boom, but I think Enigami's just going to bank on getting one para or crit versus Starmie, which admittedly is not bad odds. But if this is Blizzard, oh, or yeah, if you T-Wave it and then just get any amount of luck. So that's interesting. I think she maybe should have just Blizzarded and not risked as many para turns, because even with the T-Wave, there's still a chance for the Zapdos to just agility up and sweep anyway on one para from you. But on the flip side, Paralyzed Zapdos, pretty unlikely to knock out Zapdos fast enough for it to not wake up. Plus, you have to not get paralyzed against the Snorlax. I don't know. I didn't really do the math on those odds, but she had Blizzard, so statistically, she was a little bit favored to get that anyway. Works out for her, so good job in game one. Nice and easy for Gastlies. I want to review the teams for a moment. So, interesting barrier idea. I think maybe you need a little more physical offense on this, and I don't know if I like Zap Me Egg. I don't hate it at all, don't get me wrong. But I kind of feel like more physical offense might have done this good, or just changing the Zapdos to a different lead, something a little more aggressive. Not sure. On Enigami's side, though, I feel like this team's a little bit scattered conceptually. I don't see who's winning the game. Like, it's just a bunch of just slap together a bunch of Pokemon that are pretty good in the tier. I don't think this back Zapdos is winning the game, for example. Like, in fact, it pretty much lost this game on its own here from how it was played. It's a T-Wave Mew, so I assume it's not like Hyper Beam or something that can sweep. The Mewtwo is Blizzboom, probably Psy-Blizzboom, so there's like not Amnesia killing power, there's none of that. Where I'm not sure who the win con is meant to be. I feel like this 6 has to just be ahead the whole game or it loses, and Enigami really was not ahead for most of the game. So I think Gastly's team definitely more cohesive. I think it's one of the better uses of Zapdos, but I think that team might have done better with a not Zapdos in the lead. I'm not sure who. Maybe it's Gengar, maybe it's Tauros, but something. I do really like how she played the barrier too. Not staying on the Mew, even though it was pretty likely to work in her favor. It's still a 20% you get crit and then you go 1-for-1. So I think that the way she used her Starmie in that game was really impressive. So 1-0 Gasly's. Let's hop into the second one. Alakazam and Mewtwo. Okay. So gonna be an aggressive team from Gastly's right off the bat. From Enigami, no clue, but you presume Paraspam when you see Alakazam. Immediate Kinesis. So this is like an Enigami staple. For some reason, with Alakazam, he always goes for the Kinesis and never for the T-Wave. Just tries to lower accuracy and then leave sleep open. I really don't agree with that as a strategy, especially against stuff like Lead Mewtwo that is likely trading away a lot of its longevity for immediate potency. You just want to take that out, and you're not ever going to get a sleeper in on it anyway and get it to sleep. I think you just have to wave it. Like, this Zam is still not in a great position against it, and that immediate recover, so just trusting that Gastly's will stay in and attack. And we see T-Wave Psy Blizzard right away. My assumption is the last move is going to be recover. I could see Boom just as easily, but she's been kind of more into this recover T-Wave 2 attacks Mewtwo lately, I feel like. That might be spoilers for the rest of the tournament here. I'm not sure if I'm thinking of those or thinking of the older games, but we'll see. It could very easily be Boom, but you're obviously not going to click Boom in this situation. And she's got a Zam of her own, which I'm going to bet will also be a Kinesis Zam. Maybe some switching back and forth here to get Blizzard Mewtwo back in on Egg, but she actually goes for her own Kinesis. So now it's just going to be down to who hits their moves, and Enigami getting the moves this time. Wouldn't be surprised to see Gastly's go straight back into Mewtwo, but actually going to Eggy. And now this Paralyzed Zam might be a bit of a problem. I doubt Enigami has any reason that you risk the Tauros here. I think it's really silly because even if Executor just Psychics, that does so much damage to Tauros. That's probably going to be Psychic as Zam comes back in. And now Enigami's team looking like the framework of a Paraspam team that has some physical offense behind it, but you're not clicking the para, so I'm not sure if that really Makes the most sense. I understand getting your sleep before you spread paralysis, but I think you just should take the para on targets that don't have longevity first. Take them out and force sleep onto targets that want to take sleep the least. So I don't know if I super love the idea. Not sure if I love the psychic either. I think if I'm in Ghastly's shoes, I'm looking for a double as the Sam comes back in to a Snorlax, even the Mewtwo if you have amnesia or something. I don't know. Something that can actually break through here. So Mewtwo coming back in on T-Wave, preserving the egg makes sense. You want to get your sleep at some point. But now she's definitely looking in danger of, I wonder why Enigami's psychic there. I feel like surely you have to Kinesis there and try to make this Mewtwo unable to hit you before you go for anything, or one crit Blizzard just does like 70 to you. And Ghastly's looking for that drop. But now this is in crit Blizz range. You definitely throw a Blizzard here. And one para, one anything. Yeah, okay. So now she's broken through and sleep is on the table for her. And it's going to be on more valuable targets. Okay, so on Chansey now. So even more para spread from Enigami. The problem is this Mewtwo is just so threatening right now. Like, it T-Waves the Chansey if it wants to, or Egg comes in on Seismic Toss, whatever. Like, anything here is so threatening. Ice Beam. Interesting. Okay. So Enigami giving up the matchup versus Amnesia Mewtwo a lot here in exchange for threatening Rhydon and Egg better than you would otherwise. Now Enigami going to Zam, looking like it's like kind of a bait to pivot into something. I imagine if you're Ghastlies, you're happy to just click Psychic here until something comes in that you can sleep, like so. Like, sure, you could lose the speed tie and get paralyzed or whatever, but she's actually going to go to Zam and try to catch a boom. And Enigami, very premature boom, I'd say. I feel like you have to consider the possibility that you just, mm, like, if she catches that or just plays the speed tie and wins, it's so bad now. So, like, this is what I meant by just taking your para and forcing things for later. I think Ghastly's is doing that really well here. So even if this is a Sing Chansey or whatever, Ghastly's is now going to force sleep on a Tauros, Chansey, Mewtwo, or Mew. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. It's going to happen. And it's going to happen with Enigami not being able to get his sleep. Well, not be able to get it again. And now you kind of just traded your sleeper off for the thing you slept. So I think Ghastly's is in a very commanding position here. Like, you just send Executor, you force Enigami to send Mewtwo and bluff Blizzard crit or Tauros and bluff that he's going to crit with that. But that's it. Now your Tauros is asleep, and this egg has all the boom pressure in the world. Like, what do you switch into potential stun spore here? If your Mewtwo or Mew come into that, you're so behind. So it's very possible that Enigami chooses to sack this Tauros and trust that he can keep the egg out. Ooh, okay. Well, on the flip side, this Tauros, even though it woke up, is only at 12%. So if you can hold it off one time, that's good enough. And hold it off she will. Like, if it caught that Hyper Beam, it's arguably just as good as that miss for her. The only downside here is Snorlax is so slow, this lets like a Sing Chansey in if this is Sing Ice. And going to Mewtwo, Ice Beam, yeah, like you're not, because this isn't Seismic Toss, you're doing half as much damage to Mewtwo as you should be doing. I wouldn't be shocked to see her throw a T-Wave here, but just Blizzards, yeah, just trying to get some damage so that she can find a chance to get Eggy in. But I'd expect her to T-Wave this. Yep. And now if this last move's boom, she's absolutely just going to throw it here. And this will be over if that happens. So no boom, because I think you have zero reason not to throw it there if you have it. So T-Waver, Sleep Powder, Stun Spore. I'm thinking with all this revealed so far, that either there's going to be like a Tauros and a support Mew and it's Paraspam with Tauros and Snorlax as the win cons, or it's going to be like a support Mew and a Slowbro, or it could even be like Slowbro and a Hyper Beam Mew. I think there's a lot of things you can do with this core that would all make sense. I think it just depends on what kind of win con or even win cons plural you want. So could be, I could see Tauros Mew, I could see Mew Slowbro, And I could see like two different sets of Mew Slowbro that would both make sense here. Either a more supporty Mew or a more offensive Mew. I think the more offensive Mew would be more likely if it's Slowbro, but I could also see support Mew Tauros. Beyond that, I don't think it'd be a Rhydon. I think Dawn Lax Egg would be a little too slow. I don't think you can run Brodon on this without putting like the Zam in the lead. So one of those, we'll see what exactly comes out, but Snorlax going to get in, recover Blizzard Mewtwo, so this is going to be some pressure immediately from the Lax. Hitting one boom here will end the game. It doesn't matter who booms on what, as long as they don't hit that 12% Tauros, the game is over the second that happens. And now Gastly's can actually just boom, and even if she hits the Tauros, this Mewtwo's at 28% if it switches out. But she's not going to do it yet, and I guess she's not feeling very threatened by this Mewtwo, so it's pretty understandable to just keep going and see if you get the paras. And now, again, honestly, like here, I would maybe do it. Yeah, so gonna keep saving it, and now gonna hit the Chansey. I think here now you can consider just booming. Like, if you remove this whole Chansey for free, that's also pretty good. Earthquake. So interesting. I think what Ghastly's is doing with this is Enigami likes to run offbeat stuff like counter. I think Ice Beam counter on Chansey and Ubers would be pretty terrible, but I think with someone like Enigami, there's very much no harm in scouting for that. So she does, just in case, and now goes to egg on the recovery. The problem is now there's a 70% Mewtwo instead of a 20% or boomed out Mewtwo, so you have to boom, but I also think like that is good enough. You don't need to get sleep from this to also win the game. And now Mew is so painful to play against. It's basically just a forced T-Wave on whatever comes in, if it has T-Wave. But the Swords Dance says maybe this is Hyper Beam. So if this is Hyper Beam, I'm going to go ahead and say Slowbro last. And that Earthquake and no T-Wave tells me that's Hyper Beam. There's no other reason you do something like this. So she's going to set up now. And now she's going to just rip it and nothing comes into that. Okay, well, now it's a bit trickier because Hyper Beam maxes at 94, I want to say, at +4 versus Mew. She's got to go for another Earthquake, and the crit sucks because non-crit would have done about 60. She's going to have to Earthquake again. But the thing is, she's keeping this Mew low. It can't heal. So she's got a lot of pressure in the tank here. The only problem is if that last really is a Slowbro, this team's slow. So here comes Slowbro, and you do at least, like, you still are forcing. T-Wave is happening here whether Enigami wants it or not, so Ghastly's abandoning the plan and just saying, I'm going to T-Wave this so I can control it better with my Snorlax, with my Mewtwo. Probably going to try to re-slow it down with Amnesia too, but ooh, okay, maybe not. So Mono Quake, Ghastly's regretting that Zapdos hate now, maybe, but also could just have been a Kuna or something. Okay, this is, I think she made a mistake here. I think she forgot about the fact that this Swords danced on Slowbro, so this Mew is still faster. It might have been an intentional reapply to make it slower than Snorlax, but I'm not so sure if that's the case. And also, if this Mewtwo is Boom, you definitely are going to have to Boom that now. I think it's better to preserve the Snorlax here. Probably. But, okay, Para, if she gets okay, wow, okay, so she should be faster now. That's definitely some luck on going her way. And going straight to Chansey, but this Chansey, if it's mono Ice Beam, it can't even touch the Slowbro, which means it's just a free T-Wave and free rest because it does 4%. You can get both. And now that Chansey's paralyzed, it's way, way, way less threatening in the Mew and Lax. Now that it's just setup fodder for the Mew. This is not looking good for Enigami. I think that was a really mistaken passive play. Yeah, like your Mew is no longer set up. Your Mewtwo can maybe recover, sure, but there's a +4 Slowbro right in front of you. I already burnt a turn, so like this Tauros isn't threatening. You have to get a Repara right here to really get anything. And just going for the Hyper Beam crit. Yeah, I don't think that miss really mattered at all. Because everything's not going to be boosted in front of this. So now, why... Okay, so actually this Slowbro did get parried and reapplied on, so this Mewtwo is faster. But I don't think this really benefits Enigami unless this is Boom and it clicks it right now. I think that's the only play that Mewtwo can really do here. Because if you recover, Slowbro is still just going to kill you. It does 47 to 55. Even if it misses the roll, you're going to para before it misses that. Yeah, it's just got to be Boom. Okay, so that was definitely a Boom attempt. And I don't think that Amnesia is correct. I'm pretty sure Mewtwo stays faster. Yeah. So, mistake from Gastlies gets punished with a crit boom. Non-crit wouldn't have killed, obviously, and you would have had potential to use that still, but she made a mistake and thought that the reapply would make her faster. So she gets boomed. I think it's still very much in her favor, but that's definitely going to be a costly mistake on a game that looked a lot more wrapped up if she just hit. Slam. Oh, okay, so it was counter. Okay, the problem is this Chansey is complete setup fodder for this Mew. And switching into your own Mew is not going to help. If this is Hyper Beam Mew, like I'm almost certain it is at this point, then Chansey being in at all means your only hope to win here is if this Mew paralyzes a bunch. And it didn't paralyze on the first turn. Now it's faster. Back to a tie, but Earthquake just doesn't have the same damage output. Now, notably, the Mew is slower than Chansey now, so Ghastly's kind of has to keep her health up and can't just hard go for it. But now the Mew is in range, so if she can win a tie Hyper Beam, it has a chance to kill at least. It's not guaranteed at all. I think maybe you even +4. I don't know. It's so hard to say against this Chansey. It's mono ice, so Mewtwo should win. Goes for the Hyper Beam, gets a high roll. I do wonder about that. I think from there, probably she still won because you can hard Chansey, or sorry, hard Mewtwo on the Chansey. It can't really click counter. Counter would be an insane read. And even if you do, you reset your Mew speed. Sorry, I just really want to think this out. I think if you go to Mewtwo, right, you come back to Mew, you still die to Ice Beam, so you have to not para one time. And if you don't para one time, it should be a game win. And that's assuming the Chansey even counters on the switch, which is an insane play again. Because the Chansey is faster than the Mew, and it has the Ice Beam KO. Enigami has to predict the switch, hit the counter, to KO the Mewtwo, not para on that. But if you don't do that, if you just hit the Mewtwo, it's at 40. It starts Psychicking you. If it gets one drop, then the Mew lives in Ice Beam. So then the Mew has two chances to recover. Yeah, this should have been Ghastly's favored. But that Hyper Beam max rolling the Mew, getting 90 out of a 80 to 94 roll, definitely really good for her. Tough game, really tough game, but it looks like it's pretty sealed at this point. And as we see the situation pop up, Enigami does not actually get the counter read correct, which would have given him at least one chance to get the game. And with that drop, it's pretty much sealed here. So Ice Beam counter, getting a little bit of cheese off, killing the Snorlax for free, but ultimately kind of showing its limitations here where no Sing means you don't have any utility all game long. You're just waiting for that moment to kill that Snorlax. That's literally all you do, and then you become setup fodder that actually loses the game. So as cool as killing that Snorlax is, I think this Chansey actually like ends up losing the game positionally in exchange for getting that cool looking moment. And just looking at the teams really quick as this wraps up, because it looks like Mewtwo's not even going to need the help. It's just going to win this by itself because this isn't Seismic Toss Chansey. Seismic Toss would have killed it in 2 hits. But Ice Beam kills it in 20 hits as it keeps getting dropped. So we're going to watch it out and then I'll talk about the teams. But I think the fact that I could predict Ghastly's team and could not predict Enigami's team is not a strength of Enigami's team or weakness of Ghastly's team. I think it very much is a strength of Ghastly's team that it's very coherent, even if that's predictable. It doesn't matter if you can predict it if it's still going to beat you. So yeah, Ghastly's team, extremely heavy on the para spam, 3 Thunder Wavers plus Egg. You got a decent amount of boom here with Egg plus Lax. Definitely not a ton of boom, but Slowbro gives you some barrier 2 insurance. You have dual win cons here, so you can go on the physical or special side. I really like these dual win con teams like this because it kind of covers for everything except bad luck. but she kind of has answers to everything on this team. It's a very solid team. The one bad thing about it is it's slow and it's actually vulnerable to Zapdos overall. But I mean, you can't be perfect in everything in Ubers. There's such a like there's so many different matchups that you can't cover for them all. Enigami's team, lots of para here. You've got literally 4 Thunder Wavers. Well, assuming this chance he has Thunder Wave, who knows with Enigami, but I would think it would. So assuming that, then that's 4 T-Waves, Executor, and just a Tauros as the actual win con, because this Mew is walled by a lot of things. This Mewtwo has no longevity. Again, I don't think this is super coherent. I think it's kind of relying on getting some tricks in with Kinesis and counter and what have you. I'm not a huge fan of how this 6 got played out. I think there's a bit of a mismatch here between the amount of offense and the amount of support. I think this team could have been improved like pretty immediately just by making this a Hyper Beam Mew. And Hyper Beam Mew might have actually won this game for Enigami. But I think there's just not enough physical offense to go with the amount of para you're spreading. I think if you have this counter Chansey to remove a physical attacker on the enemy team, like a Snorlax, that's great for your Tauros, but it's just your Tauros, and you have nothing else that can follow up on that. Tauros is not going to win a game by itself in most cases. So I think very deserved wins from Gastly's, very good teams, very good plays overall, even if she was a bit boneheaded with the Slowbro. Everyone has those moments. It's very hard to keep track in RBY of all that stuff, and even the fundamentals you miss sometimes, in addition to like the more complicated stuff, like how many times have you had paralysis reapplied or what have you. So I don't really begrudge her that. Good win from Gastly's. I think that puts her up to 6-2 as of the time of this win. So very deserved. And I'll spoil for you right now, Gastly's team did win the semifinal and move into finals. So that's about all from me. I'm going to be trying to record the rest of UPL and maybe get a start on another tournament after that, all in one night, maybe in 2 days or so. We'll see. And then I'll be on another brief break and then right back to it. So I hope the hiatus wasn't too bad, and let me know what you think. Press the buttons if you liked the video or if you have something to say or what have you. And I'll see you in the next one.